Hello, I'm Alex.
I'm James.
And I'm Dan.
We're the Ragamuffins, and this is episode 42 of the Ragamuffin Music Podcast.
The meaning of life.
Oh my goodness, it is?
Oh, God.
Wow.
Yeah. Have we completed this now?
Maybe. This is a place for us to talk about the meaning of life. And the music that we love.
This episode we'll be reviewing new albums from The Story So Far and Wage War, as well as some singles from Stick to Your Guns and more.
And we'll be talking about some of our favourite download festival headliners that we've ever seen.
First, last episode's album recommendations. Jay, what do you recommend?
I recommended the 2021 EP Pure Like Porcelain by Like Moths to Flames.
I quite like it. Like I've meant, I feel like I'm stuck on repeat kind of, because I keep mentioning how I'm kind of going off metalcore a bit, like I'm stuck in a bit of a rut with it. But again, this is just a solid metalcore release, really. I think if I have a criticism of it, it's like for some reason it reminds me of is it Forever Loud that do that thing when they interview bands where they get them to like come up with a riff and a breakdown?
Yeah.
And like because of how erratic it is and like how it's like feels like there's one riff going on and then it goes into a breakdown and then goes into another riff. It feels like one of those songs that they've created from their interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't necessarily a criticism, I suppose, because those songs still sound cool, but it just reminded me of that for some reason. But all in all, solid metalcore EP, very nice production quality on it. Everything sounds really crisp and clear, which is what you want. And yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it. I found it to be a lot more easily digestible than the full-length album that we listened to recently. Not just because of the length. I just think the songwriting was just, for me, a bit more interesting. There was a bit more to keep me engaged, even though it was only 5 songs. So I like it, yeah. It's not, it's not reinventing the wheel, but certainly a good take on it. So I liked it.
I'd be intrigued to see your reaction when seeing them live at some point.
Yeah, I think
'Cause
that'll be
they
it for
are
me.
amazing
Yeah.
as a live band. Yeah, that was mine.
Alex, what did you recommend for us?
I recommended All You Embrace by One Step Closer, which came out in May, and we didn't... In May?
Yeah,
Yeah, it did come out in May. It came out
just
on
before
my
Slam
birthday.
Dunk.
Came out on my birthday. And we didn't really talk about it at the time, so I thought we'd talk about it now.
Now, this is an album that like a fair number of people are talking about, and this is a band that a fair number of people are talking about as well. And although I think like it's not necessarily an underrated album or an underrated band, I think it's an album that deserves more credit. Like people are saying that it's a great debut album, but I think it's just in general a great album. Like in terms of comparing it to like a similar sounding band, if Title Fight came back and released this album, people would be like, "This is an album of the year contender. This is phenomenal. This is brilliant." So I think to just say that it's a good debut album isn't really giving it the credit it deserves. I think on the whole, it's a brilliant album, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, for me, it's like... just based on like my own personal enjoyment, it's been an album of the year contender. And like you said, I think it's feels like with bands like Title Fight and Basement, and even bands like Movements and that are moving away from the genre, feels like there's been a bit of a vacuum in that particular like corner of alternative music for the last few years. And I feel like this is the filler of that void. And I had the same sort of thought, but like I thought if this was a Basement album, people would be turning themselves inside out, shouting about how good it is. So I feel like we kind of need to do the same on behalf of One Step Closer, because I think it's phenomenal.
And same with me. And I agree with the fact that this should be an album of the year contention. And this is one I'm going to keep revisiting. Particularly, I really love the vocals and just the varying styles that he came out with for it. And I wish this would have been on my radar more when seeing them at Slam Dunk. I absolutely loved it and enjoyed jamming to it. And it's going to be something that I'm going to keep revisiting. I've really, really enjoyed it. A fantastic release, great riffs throughout, really, really enjoyable, and felt like I could listen to the album from start to finish very, very easily. So, yeah, very, very much enjoyed this. Dan, your recommendation?
So last month I started immersing you two into the world of Aaron West and the Roaring Twenties. I got you to review the first album, We Don't Have Each Other, last time out. And now we're getting back into the story with the second album, Routine Maintenance. But before that, the Bittersweet EP, which has a couple of my favourite Aaron West songs on it.
Well, I will say this, because of how we organise that playlist, the EP and the album kind of have become one in my head. Like I didn't.
Okay, yeah, we'll do it all in one go then.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I found the switch
the
between them jarring as
I mean,
fuck.
the story kind of links.
Oh, sorry.
Links in a way anyway.
Yeah,
the
that's
switch between going from
from
metalcore
from like Monster
the
Flames.
band
Oh
and
yeah. Oh, I thought
was
you
jarring as hell. I ended the like Monster Flames EP and then going into Aaron West, and I was like, that was quite a stark change.
But I thought you meant from the EP to the album. Well, it's not that different. So in my head, they have kind of become one and the same.
That's fair. We can do it all in one go.
But what was the like timeline wise? How far apart are they release wise? Off the top of your head, if you might.
The album came out in May 2019.
Okay.
And the EP was quite a while before that. That was in May 2016.
Wow. Very far apart then.
But in terms of the story, they aren't
close.
as far apart.
Yeah.
I believe.
I think I enjoyed this more than the first album.
Well, I remember you saying that you'd be intrigued by the introduction of more characters.
Yes.
Which is what you've got in this album.
Yes. And I was also kind of wondering to myself, how is it going to get any more bleak? And then if I've interpreted it correctly, the brother-in-law dies, and he sort of becomes, the rock of the family, I guess. And I think that's like, first and foremost, Routine Maintenance, the song, is my favourite Aaron West song that I've heard. And I think it perfectly sort of, like, as you go through this album, you get to that, and you've also have, like, because he goes through, like, a bit of a mess, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean,
like
in the EPs, he's kind of made the decision in the EP songs, he's kind of made the decision to go back to the apartment for whatever reason. Like, he doesn't even know why he's gone back there.
Some sort of unknown.
He's discovered that there's
closure,
a random guy living in his wife's apartment.
Yeah.
And nothing of his is left there apart from a coat that he left in the wardrobe.
So I feel like, and then you go through things like Just Sign the Papers, where they're obviously having like a very sort of messy sort of divorce situation, and then the blooded up in a bar fight, where arguably I think that's probably the rock bottom of the story so far. I think that.
Well, I think it's
situation.
almost a bit of a roller coaster though, because at the start of the Routine Maintenance, it's almost like he's accepted that he's on his own and he's kind of starting again.
Yeah.
But then obviously he gets into that fight and he has to move on again.
Yeah, and then it's like he starts doing open mics and has the band form, and it's like
see, that song, not to like butt into your own
No,
review,
it's all right.
but that song, Running Toward the Light, where he's like finally got the band and stuff, that's like the uplift, I think.
Yeah,
almost.
And then it's like a TV show. It's like that devastating thing where it's like it's all come together for him now. There's a moment of like joy, I guess, and then it has to, like, just comes crashing down. But I think what's interesting is, like, I guess, like, if you look at it from a character perspective, this might sound silly because I feel like I'm overanalyzing it now, but like, if what had happened to his brother-in-law had happened during the first album, it would have like broken Aaron, like the character of Aaron, completely. Whereas on this album, it's like he's gone through so much that he's able to be the one that people can count on now, which I think is like quite a profound level of growth. And also, like, I've not personally been like this affected or invested in like concept music before.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And it is ridiculous how I was listening to that song and just being like, all the simple things around the house that he's doing, changing the oil and raking the leaves, and is like obviously just a metaphor for taking care of himself and the people around him by just doing the simple things, you know.
Well, I thought like it's preceded by the song Winter Coats as well, which is why I thought it was important to include the songs from the Bittersweet EP as well, because like I've just mentioned in that, there's the mention of a winter coat. But well, he mentions that he's left his winter coat somewhere else where he was, and now he needs it.
Yeah.
And he finds one of his other winter coats left behind in the apartment. Like, it's almost like that's a metaphor for the things that you've left behind that you realise you actually need. So Winter Coats obviously is a song about going back to his family, and it's almost like his family are the winter coats.
Yeah.
I think there's so much symbolism like that, like littered throughout like the whole discography.
Yeah.
That I just think is so clever.
But no, I really enjoyed this one. Yeah.
I think obviously you're picking up on the song Routine Maintenance as well, the album closer. I like the way that the album close, the sort of end of each album so far, kind of is open ended. It doesn't leave anything on a cliffhanger, but at the same time,
It can go anywhere.
yeah,
From here.
like if the story ends there, then it's kind of an end point, but also it could carry on as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really difficult thing to try and write, isn't it?
Yeah.
That there's like this open-endedness, but closure. So yeah,
Mm.
it's very impressive. Yeah, I like it. What about you, James?
I struggled.
Oh no.
I struggled. I can see like the evolution going from the second one, and I did find the songwriting better from it. Kind of having much more of like a whole band feel. I enjoyed, but I think I would try and listen to it all, like the EPs from the album from start to finish, and had to dip in and out because I found that for me personally, listening to too much like essentially acoustically driven music just is a hard thing and doesn't necessarily appeal to me as like my base level of what I enjoy. So it was one I had to kind of keep dipping in and out of, and was hard for me to kind of really dive into with 2 feet. Like I said, there were parts of it that I did enjoy, but yeah, it was a tough one for me to kind of get through, but it was, for me personally, an improvement from the previous one.
Nice. I think as long as you're understanding the story and like the storytelling from it, I think that's the
I was
main,
reading along with
I think
lyrics.
that's the main thing of like this kind of concept art form, I think.
Mm.
Anyway, shall we move on to
Let's
some
move
newer
on.
music?
Yes. First up, we've got Feedback by Day to Remember. Lyrically, they said, if I want your feedback, I'll let you know.
Well, we're doing it anyway.
We'll do it
We're
anyway.
giving it to you.
And it's fucking shit, mate. Too
I
harsh? Too harsh?
I think that's
Elaborate.
harsh.
Elaborate.
Go on.
Oh, I'll elaborate. If they were trying something completely new to them and flopping at it, you could at least commend them for giving it a go. But this, to me, is a style of music that they should be and have in the past been experts in. And yet it just sounds so uninspired and boring. And I just think lyrically it's just a bit like, come on, grow up. Like, you released an absolute dog shit album with You're Welcome, and then it's just, I don't know, it just seems really like antagonistic to anyone who, like me, who I was kind of on the fence about them going forward, was because You're Welcome really put me off, considering how good some of their early work is. So I've been on the fence, and then just to release something like this, just to me, it was just a bit really like ick. Gave me the ick. That's the only way I can think about this.
So like from a perspective of someone that never really grew up listening to them anyway, and I've never really gone back and revisited, to be honest, I found it okay. I found it alright. I did find the main kind of point for me with it was the chorus being very earwormy. And you can say the song name, and I can kind of hear kind of the melody and stuff and the vocals through it, which is obviously a good sign. Anyone wants that in a song. You want something that's catchy. But I didn't find it anything like exciting, new, or fantastic. But I found it okay. I didn't find too much wrong with it, but not too much that really blew me away. So kind of middle ground, I think, from my perspective.
Yeah, I think saying it's shit is a bit harsh, but at the same time, it's just a bit of a nothing song.
Yeah.
Like I don't have any intention to go back and listen to it again. Really,
Floated by.
It doesn't do anything really. And I mean, unfortunately, A Day to Remember haven't really done anything exciting in nearly 10 years, and that streak continues.
And they'll still probably headline Slam Dunk next year.
Yeah, I mean, they can do it off the old songs. But next up, it's Villain Arc by Bury Tomorrow.
So you probably as the main Bury Tomorrow fan here, I was quite excited by this from the teasers and stuff coming out. But I found it just fairly standard. Danny's vocals were kind of just solid as expected, but what I kind of expect out of the newer Arc and more recent Bury Tomorrow is more melody and things like that, which are the hooks really to pull you in. And I just don't think it really had anything like that within this. Obviously, you're going to get the bands who are going to have like heavier songs, and like Alpha Wolf don't need that necessarily, but they kind of dip their toes in every now and again. But this just didn't have that same effect with it. It felt a little bit at times like there was too much happening at once and all at the same volume, and like the mix wasn't as clean as I'd hoped it would be. So I was left quite disappointed by it. I hope with new music coming that it will kind of get me more excited, because this is a band that I've become quite a big fan of. Seen them live a few times and think they put on a fantastic live performance. So yeah, it kind of left me with a bit of disappointment, which not ideal really.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. Really enjoyed the Seventh Son, the last album. But unfortunately, this song's not as good as any of the songs on the album.
No, I disagree. I agree. Sorry, I don't disagree. I agree. I think back to like when they kind of started this new arc with Death and Life, and that was like a breath of fresh air. And this feels just like a dampener.
Yeah. Again, it doesn't really do much wrong, but it doesn't do a lot right.
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head. I've been trying to wrap my head around what it is that I feel about this song, and I guess it's just that it doesn't go anywhere. Like there's no peaks or troughs to it. It's just at 80% all the way through. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't ever go all the way up to 100. It doesn't pull itself back down to 50% to give any sort of ebb and flow. I don't know, I'm just frustrated because I really enjoyed their set when they supported Sleeps at Ali Pali, and in my head I thought, oh man, I would love to see this band move up to that level and be able to headline this venue, because they deserve it. And everything since the new vocalist has come in I've loved, but this one just sort of passed me by.
Hopefully with a new album potential in the way, with singles coming out, then we can get something that's more appeal, because I think like the longevity they've had, and you're looking at, in a way, you kind of mentioned Sleeps there, the ascension they're having throughout Europe, especially with festival season at the minute and the height they're getting to. Bury Tomorrow kind of like the next wave underneath that. It's like you have your Bring Me, then your Sleeps, and your Bury Tomorrow of like British metalcore. So it'd be nice to see that, but it will depend on future releases now at this point.
I will add that I really like the artwork. I like the aesthetic of that.
Yeah.
And like the new tour poster as well. That's quite cool.
Music video was decent as well.
So shaping up for aesthetically a good new era. So we'll see if some not necessarily better music, but better music for me follows. I have faith.
I have faith.
You gotta have faith, the faith, the faith. Baby!
What else is new, Dan?
Throne have released a song called Look At Me.
This was an interesting one for me, because I would find looking through the playlist and getting to it forgetful, but then once listening to the song, really kind of getting into it. And like I've dipped my toes into Throne like here and there, and they're like on my radar as a band that I want to kind of spend more time on. But yeah, there was the weird sensation of like, oh, it's like a mere song, but then listening to it, yeah, like I say, really, really delving in and enjoying it. But then that makes me kind of feel like there are parts of the song that just don't stand out as strong, that really I think of the song name or anything, and I'm like, yeah, I remember that part of it. So there's a weird kind of juxtaposition there with it in terms of my, I guess, relationship with the song, listening to it for the past however long we've put it in the playlist.
I have never in my life turned off a Throne song, but I could not, gun to my head, hum you a riff, recite a lyric, or give you anything that they've ever written, like from memory. And I think that's the problem with this band, is it's sick as fuck, but it immediately evaporates out of my head when it's done.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going into this month's reviews with no notes, and I cannot remember this song.
Yeah,
and I'm on the same page.
and like,
there's nothing on my page.
Because there's obviously, that meme where it's like you end an album or a playlist and they're the first thing that auto plays.
Yeah, that does happen.
And like, it's always good. I always enjoy it, but then it just immediately, I'm just like,
I forget everything.
What was that? Yeah. So I don't know really what to make of it, to be honest.
And it's a weird thing to have, because I can't think of any other bands where in particular I can kind of enjoy listening to it,
probably put
but
like
completely forget.
Good number of like, well, not hours, but maybe hours. Put a good amount of time into listening to their music, and I've not retained a shred of it.
Upon Burn and Body back with Skate or Die. Now, this is quite an interesting one because we discussed it very briefly before we started, Alex.
Yes.
This gave me a lot of throwback vibes to like the party kind of deathcore, metalcore they did on the first album with like Intermission. So it was quite nostalgic going back to it straight away and kind of throwing me back to maybe like 10 years ago, kind of first like listening to them, I guess. So yeah, it was kind of like a warm feeling kind of familiarity. So I really enjoyed it. It wasn't a standout song, and I think some of the stuff they've released more recently has been better, and shows off the variety more. But this almost like, I guess in that way, is a homage to older fans, and you can tell in a way they're just enjoying what they're doing at the minute. I think being free of a record label, being able to just kind of write and put out songs whenever they want to, seems like, at least to me, when listening to music like this, they're having fun with it. They can do what they want. They've got the creative control, which is something I think is lovely to see for any kind of band. So I wonder if we end up, all of these singles get put onto an album at some point, or we're just going to keep having singles drop. But please visit the UK because still need to see you tour again, and it's been a long time.
What you said there, James, about them sort of their older stuff being more of like a party band, that puts me at ease, because I was going into this song thinking, if they're taking it seriously on this song, terrible.
I mean, they have a song on the first album where they're talking about downing Jägermeister. So
there we go. Yeah, I was thinking if this song's meant to be taken seriously, then not liking it at all. But if it's more of like a Don Broco vibe where it's just like a bit silly and a bit of fun, then fair enough. Like if it was very parody.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fine.
So they had that with some of their
if that's
before.
its purpose, then that's okay.
Like one of the songs of the first album, Intermission, is basically them playing and it's a house party going on and shit like that. And they've been parodied before with, I think it's the music video for BMF off Straight from the Barrio. So like they dip their toe in of like, okay, we're going to go serious with this, but also then they have the points of like, fuck it, let's just have some fun, enjoy it. And I mean, there's still killer riffs there, and it's got that familiar like Upon a Burning Body sound, which was wonderful to hear. So yeah, that was nice for me.
That's fair enough then.
Next up, we got 2 new singles from Stick to Your Guns, Permanent Dark and Invisible Rain.
Now I'm going to refer back to what I said earlier about Throne. Kind of similar. I'd go back to these and listen to them, and they would kind of flow from one to the other a little bit for me, but there weren't, annoyingly, any standout moments for me. I think back to Stick to Your Guns, and I think of like Weapon, and that melody straight away in my head, and you can hear that immediately. Stuff like From More of Us and Them. Songs from Disobedient that I've kind of gone back to and listened to as a newer fan, going and listening to the discography. But to me, yeah, I was enjoying it. I can't tell you what happened in the songs. So there's that weird kind of thing where it's like great music's coming out, but the hooks aren't there. There's nothing that's really making it stand out as something very special, which I don't know if that's all the months and now years that we're kind of like listening to music constantly, and if it's trying to find those things in a way that are really kind of scratching that itch and standing out as something different and enjoyable. But it's weird then listening to songs, really enjoying them, but they're not having like the standout things that you kind of want from it, like a big chorus, big melodies, riffs that you can kind of hear straight away. And that's a weird thing. And I was looking forward to these songs, but it just doesn't have that grasp.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, to be honest. I mean, like you said, I kind of expect it from Throne to just sort of have a song be cool and then immediately disappear. But Stitch Your Guns, I've got so many songs that live in like the deepest, darkest crevices of my brain and have never left since I was like 15. But for these two, I didn't really feel like I was like really properly connecting with what I was listening to. It's just sort of washing over me, if that makes sense. Which is a shame, because that's not usually what I want from Stitch Your Guns. I sort of want it to be something that embeds itself like deep into my brain. So, yeah.
I'm pretty much the same. I mean, they're good enough songs, but it just feels like there isn't like the heart in them and like that much attention put into them. I'd say like sonically they sound a bit like they'd be on the album Diamond, but like not quite good enough to make the album. And obviously with the like Krishnamurti, I think his name is, doing like with those sort of samples from him speaking being cut in there as well. It's obviously like a deliberate connection to that album. But again, that's my favourite album of theirs, and I've not really connected with these songs, unfortunately. So they've missed the mark with this one, I think.
Come on, bands, do better.
Well, maybe if we look at some albums, maybe they're better. What do we think of... I haven't got the album name here.
Stigma.
What do we think of Wage War's Stigma?
Well, I said earlier about one of the songs, I can't remember which one, about applauding something if they tried and it didn't quite land. So I'm going to have to do that exact thing right now. Fair play, because there's some stuff on here that's a bit different and a bit weird, and they're pulling from places outside of metalcore for a lot of this album. But it doesn't all the way gel. I do think, to its credit, this album's probably a grower. Whereas a lot of Wage War in the past has been instant. This is the sickest thing I've ever heard in my life. And there's a lot on here where I'm like, I think in about 2 months' time, I'm going to really be into this. But right now, I've just got a bit of an aversion to some of it. Like, even Magnetic, like, from when it was released as a single a few weeks ago to now, that was my favourite song on the album. So I think that process is probably going to happen for the rest of it. I just need...
I was going to say the same thing.
Acclimatise.
Like Magnetic, when we reviewed it as a single, like I wasn't really into it at all, but really liking it now. I think maybe it's putting it in with some of these other songs. Maybe it's making it just stand out a bit more. That bit of familiarity, but
yeah,
Magnetic was one of my standouts on the album. Feels like an album of moments.
Yes.
Like
yep.
Because they've got some of their best breakdowns and
for
some
sure.
of their coolest
They've got
moments.
the heaviest song they've ever written
I think
on this record.
It just depends, like, which of these moments are for you. Like, I'm sure some people will enjoy different parts of the album. For me, it's like, again, I think it's the breakdowns mainly for me, like, and then sort of the transitions into them. I can't really think of any examples. But again, like, there's moments where it's like, oh, don't know how I feel about this, and then it'll pull you back in again, and then it kind of starts to lose you again, and it pulls you back in again. So, like Alex said, I think maybe it's going to be a bit of a grower. Maybe listening to it in different circumstances. I'll prefer different moments. But yeah, it was fine. I do have to say though, the show's about to start is a bit corny.
I agree.
The intro is not.
I can
cool.
see that already being like the intro song before, and then they walk out and play something. Is not a fan of that.
See, that feels like party band, but Wage War aren't a party band.
So I kind of tried to spend more time with it because similarly, first listen, I was not a fan. But on the many repeat listens I've given for it, it has really grown on me. And I prefer this much more to probably Manic, because there's a few standout songs on Manic, and maybe even prefer this more than Pressure. I think Blueprints and Deadweight were amazing albums.
This is album number 5.
Five, yeah. I think Blueprints and Deadweight were amazing.
They're flawless albums. They are flawless.
And I think this is probably like number 3 for me at the minute. Like I say, Tombstone I think is phenomenal. Like, it's almost Wage War that I've wanted to hear for such a long time, where it's just unrelenting. And I kind of agree with you, Dan. Like, some of the riffs and breakdowns scattered throughout, really, really enjoyable. Like Happy Hunting and Hellbent, really enjoyed Self-Sacrifice. I feel like it's not a cohesive album, but I think the variance in it makes it not stale going through it, and it gives you a different kind of flow to go through it, and you get to see, I think, all aspects of what Wage War are actually capable of on this record, which you can't receive from some bands because it can be so much of the same.
Yeah, I think the thing as well is I can't suss out if it's like deliberately difficult or if we're just kind of, do you know what I mean? Like, I listen to Code Orange or Harriet and I'm like, this is deliberately difficult for people to get into. Whereas this, I don't know if it's just I'm being averse to it, or if they've tried to create something that has this intentional, like, push you away, pull you back sort of vibe. I like, I think I'm gonna. I think
it's mostly just that they're doing like
new stuff,
lots of different things on this album, and some things will appeal to you, other things won't.
And one of my actual takeaways is that aside from like Magnetic, for example, this is them essentially turning away from being a Sirius XM core band.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I think the previous two albums fit more along that vein, and I think this is a bit of a diversion away and a bit more kind of going back to roots with some songs in particular, which is quite nice.
Can I say I'm pleasantly surprised how receptive we've all been to this, because
I was very
I didn't
unsure
think
about
we would
this.
all be on the same. We're
No,
kind of all
I
on
was-
the same page.
I
didn't
was
think we
very
would.
unsure going into it and nervous about it, and maybe lower expectations helped slightly. But I'm pleasantly surprised, and yeah, on a lot of repeat listens, it's really grown on me as an album. So happy boy.
Nice. And lastly, we've got "I Want to Disappear" by The Story So Far.
I only gave it 2 listens, so I don't really have a lot of opinions at the moment.
Fair enough.
Only 2 listens. It's like 10 minutes long. Which is one of my criticisms of the album. Like, I know we all like a short album, but it feels a bit short. And
Did
like,
you both
and I'm,
want
I'm
more from it
exaggerating.
as, like, old
I think
fans?
it's actually more like 28 minutes, to be fair. So it's near enough like standard length, but it just feels short. I don't know.
But is this because of, I don't know, you'll know more because you're older fans. The length of time it's taken for this to come through, is that just a desire of maybe wanting more, or?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I think, yeah, perhaps.
Perhaps. Yeah, that maybe.
I think maybe with the first couple of singles as well, it was a bit like, okay, this one's a bit more of a pop punky one. And like I'm getting going off the mark with like a negative there, but I really enjoy this album. I think it's a really fun album.
I think it was exactly what I expected it to be, which is
exactly.
why I'm quite happy with it. I think if you like the approach that they took on Proper Dose, if anything, this feels like a better in between. This feels like this should exist between Proper Dose and Self-Titled, sort of progression wise. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do agree.
So I think if you like what they were doing on Proper Dose, you probably will like this album. I thought it was good. I think it's actually like, what's quite weird about it is it's very sonically quite upbeat, but lyrically it's probably one of the bleakest albums of the year, to be honest. Like,
Well, it's clearly about loss, isn't it?
yeah. And I
But like a different kind of loss. There was the meme back in the day, wasn't there? That The Story So Far, I've written another song about the same breakup.
yeah,
But this is clearly about like actual like death.
yeah. And I think that there's quite a lot of like really, I mean, Parker's always been, I think, a very sort of open lyricist to wear his heart on his sleeve, but there's some real sort of brutal honesty about like grief on this album that I think actually it's probably going to be really good for a lot of people to hear, because I think people deal with grief in a lot of different ways, and there's like sometimes you think something about that situation and you think, oh, I feel like I shouldn't think that because it's such a horrible way to approach what's happened. But then to hear him be quite kind of like brutally honest with himself about how he's coping with it is, yeah, I think it's quite comforting.
I think it's interesting as well that it kind of starts with some sort of more energetic songs. Like all this time through to pretty much Big Blind are all like fairly energetic songs. But then particularly the last 2 songs, White Shores and I Want to Disappear, are pretty like stripped back compared to the rest of the songs on the album, really.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's symbolic of kind of like
Stages
mellowing out or the stages of grief or something.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's
I just
good.
find that interesting.
I think the more I sit with it, the higher it might go in my album of the year rankings. But at the moment, I don't really know where to place it. But anyway, that's enough of the new music. What's coming up next month, James?
Well, here's some more new music. We have got Who Are You When No One Is Watching by Graphic Nature.
Whoa.
Only One More, Speed.
Ah.
Soft Play, Heavy Jelly.
Yeah.
All Hell by Los Campesinos.
Yeah.
And an album that we've all been waiting for, Equals One by Deep Purple.
Oh, finally.
I mean, let's put Deep Purple aside because that was going to be all of our most excited,
of
obviously.
course.
What are you most looking forward to next month? And I wonder if we're in agreement.
You know what? I mean, obviously, I'm looking forward to Graphic Nature. But
Obviously.
I'm on a massive soft play hype right now. Like since their return, like every one of the new singles is brilliant, for different reasons. I'm really loving the like diversity. Actually, I've only realised like as I've had the singles on repeat, they've got a song about grieving for a dead relative, but also a song about annoying people on e-scooters. So So yeah, I can't wait to see where they go on the new album. I've been listening to them a lot. So Download as well. They're one of my highlights of the weekend. So very much looking forward to Heavy Jelly.
Alex, what are you most excited for?
Well, I am very excited for that because I agree. I think they've been on a run of form since they've come back that's been really actually quite surprising. Like, I feel like they've already maybe surpassed anything they were doing when they were slaves, if that makes sense. So, excited for that, but it's speed in it. It's going to be so sick.
I actually agree. I think Graphic Nature, I'm really excited
I'm very
for.
excited for Graphic Nature.
I think we all are, and we cannot wait for that. The singles have been phenomenal.
Almost goes without saying, doesn't it?
But I think, like, I've started listening to Speed more and more, and so I'm hoping that this album's going to keep the momentum going for me in particular. I'm kind of hoping that no bands release singles next month, because I think we're going to end up wanting to review Soft Play, Graphic Nature, and Speed.
Yeah.
So that's already 3 albums. So if
Pretty
any
much.
bands are listening, don't release singles next month unless it's a certified fucking
I'm sure
tune.
you're all so busy with festivals. Just focus on that.
Just don't worry about that and let these 3 bands just dominate albums for next month. And there we are. So, like, gig talk, main thing is, I guess, Download Festival. Our vlogs are out. Go watch them. We had good times. 4 episodes. Enjoy. Our recap podcast will be out as well, so you can go and have a nice sit down, 90 minutes, chill,
And just
relax.
Hear about our weekend.
Hear about our weekend at Download. Hear some of our Ragamuffin Club thoughts. So check that link in the description and you can join and we can hear from you on future stuff as well.
Did we avoid the food poisoning?
Yes,
Find
we did.
out. Damn it!
Or did we? If I tell you that I ate from Yorkshire Pud, then maybe you can have to just
I think
find out.
I think the suspense is gone.
Yeah, fuck. But someone else did go to a gig this month.
Eras tour, baby. Wembley Night 2. Fantastic.
And I don't need to hear any more.
You do.
I want to hear more.
Well, first things first, my first ever stadium show. So that in and of itself was pretty cool. I don't know, I didn't really know what to expect. Like,
Were you sat up in the seats,
Oh,
like up in the...
oh yeah.
You're in the
Oh,
nosebleeds.
There she is.
Wow,
There she is.
Where is she?
I can't see
On
her.
the fucking spotlight.
It's quite far away.
Yeah, miles away. Well, first things first of that night, support act was Griff, some local London girl, pop music. It was nice. It was enjoyable. Paramore. Huge bucket list one for me, this. When people think about, like, their pop punk or emo band of, like, their teenage or childhood years, people, like, there were people who loved My Chem, people who loved Blink, Green Day. Paramore was that for me. I was obsessed with Paramore, particularly the first 3 albums. But they're a perfect example of a band growing with their fan base, I think, because I don't think 15-year-old me would have appreciated the new stuff the way that I do now. So, yeah, it was a real full circle moment to see Paramore. I nearly missed it because we were basing the set times off of night 1, and I thought Paramore would be on at 6:30. I kind of needed a wee, but I wanted to leave it as late as I could. You know me. And it got to like 1 minute to 6, and I turned to Brian and I went, all right, I think I'm going to go now. I can definitely be back by 6:20. Plenty of time. And they just walked out. Just walked out on stage, and I was like, okay. And then
sit back down.
immediately forgot that I needed a wee because I had so much fun during their set.
They're playing Misery Business again, I think.
They are at Taylor Swift's request, apparently. So, God bless her, the angel. They were fun, and they've sort of nicked the... Taylor Swift's been doing the thing where she plays, like, surprise songs. So the bulk of the set is the same every night, and then she does, like, an acoustic segment, and it's always a surprise. Paramore have basically been doing the same thing, where they've been rotating, like, 4 or 5 songs every night, which is fun. Didn't get That's What You Get, which is what I wanted, but, you know.
That's what you don't get.
That's what you don't get. And then Taylor Swift came out, and it was honestly phenomenal. Like, probably top 5 gigs I've been to.
See, people take the piss, but like,
So I could hold that in.
she does basically a one-woman show for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
plays like 30 to 40 songs.
It was at
That's
times
nuts.
like
You got to respect that.
I respect that. I just struggle with like the shit you've seen over the years, top
Yeah.
5 gigs of all time. That's
No,
like
that's
the
how-
comparisons of shit we've been to.
that is how much I enjoyed it, and yeah, I just thought it was brilliant. I didn't really care that I was massively high up and really far away. Like it was at times, it was like borderline overwhelming, like how loud people were. Like I've never heard people scream when she first, because the way that the show starts.
Did
is
you scream?
Like, a little bit. She's like she like basically comes up through the middle of the stage and she's got this great big massive like, I don't know how to describe them, but sort of like
Bird?
they're kind of like bird feathers, yeah, weird.
Seeing how you motion in your arm.
But basically she's like covered by like these massive giant feathers essentially, and then they reveal it and she's there. I've never heard that many people scream in my
Magic's
life.
biggest secrets finally revealed. That kind of.
Well, what's crazy was
Penn and Teller
is
fool us.
there were she has a load of like different parts of the stage that like drop down for her to disappear into, but we were so high up that you could see her as soon as she drops below the horizon line of the stage.
Now you see me?
You can see her like run down.
I've seen a video of her like diving into a pool.
Yeah.
And then she just sculls off.
Yeah. So that was quite cool.
So you say about like when people going up and down on levers, the first thing that's coming into my mind is, I don't know if you've seen the videos of Psy when he performs live.
Yeah. It's like he pops out like
Oh,
Rey
yeah.
Mysterio.
Yeah, he just
It's
flies in the
unreal.
air.
That's the only thing she didn't do. Every time she came
It's
out,
like-
it was a slow rise. I wanted her to pop out like Rey Mysterio.
Like Ronaldo leaping for a header.
Yeah. It was brilliant. I think segmenting the show into the eras, which is obviously what the Eras tour is genius, because I don't know. I don't actually know like that many artists that could do it and have each album feel so defining. I guess that's sort of like the brand that's been built up over the years.
Yeah, and also to have a fan base that will care about each album as well.
Yeah.
Like if there's some bands in the alternative scene that would do that, and like they clearly have one big album that everyone loves, and people would just go home after they've played songs from that.
Yeah. And for her to justify that long of a show with that many songs is a testament to her body of work, to be honest.
I've got one last question, because we spent so much time on this already.
I could honestly,
Well,
I could
I know
probably
you
do a
could,
whole
so we're just gonna
podcast
get this
episode on this
going.
myself.
What was your favourite song?
Oh, fucking hell.
One song. I don't want you to list off a load. What was your favourite song? And then
Oh, wow.
we pass this by. Can hear the cogs turning.
It was probably Shake It Off,
Did you shake it off at
to
the
be
same
honest.
time?
I did. It was so much fun. Probably the most fun I've had at a gig. Maybe.
Wonderful.
It's that and Turnstile at Outbreak. which is insane. But those are probably the two instances where I've had the most fun watching a band.
And we've got some more stuff coming up this month. You're going to see Block Party Alley?
Yes, next week, Silent Alarm in full, plus some of the hits. Very excited.
That's cool.
At Crystal Palace Park. Yeah, it'd be good.
Same day, Darren and I and Glennie are off to see Tala at downstairs at the Dome. Which finally coming over, 250 cap venue, no barrier. I cannot wait. And 2000 Trees.
And then Trees just after that.
Yeah, very, very excited. So vlogs will be coming thick and fast soon.
Trees feels like our spiritual home.
It
I'm looking
does.
forward to
It
going
does.
back.
So, and if you're going to Trees and you see us, it is a lovely place. Come and say hello. We'll have a lovely chat and talk about music, and it will be nice.
And Taylor Swift. I mean, that's still music, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
come
a
up to
debate.
me and give me a friendship bracelet if you listen to this. That'd be nice.
If someone does,
If someone comes up to 2000 Trees and gives us a friendship bracelet, gives me a friendship bracelet, no one else.
They call them candies, don't they, or something like that?
Don't think so.
Or is that just a festival thing?
That's just a festival thing.
All right.
What can we give him in return?
A good old pat on the back.
Free t-shirt, maybe? That'd be fun.
yeah, well, fuck it, we'll throw a
Yeah,
t-shirt.
we'll
in.
throw a free t-shirt in.
Give Alex a friendship bracelet.
Give me a Taylor Swift theme, not just a random one.
Okay, here we go. Specific.
Give me a Taylor Swift themed friendship bracelet at 2000 Trees, and you'll get a free t-shirt. Maybe not there and then. We'll like post it to you afterwards.
Unless you're listening to this and you're actually planning to, and then let us know your size. and
Oh
we'll
yeah,
make sure we
yeah,
have
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But I actually want to see this
That's a lot of
happen.
faff
So that'd
going
be
into this
interesting.
now, but that would be brilliant. I'd love that very much.
God, let's hope the download video AdSense comes in, all right?
Giving away
Anyway.
free t-shirts. Fucking
Discussion time.
yeah.
Speaking of Download Festival, we've been a few times now between us. I'll do my best.
What a pro!
It's not as smooth now that we've
I love it when
discussed
I love it when we do something really smooth and then immediately draw
immediately
attention.
just
to it.
we immediately just ruin it by just drawing attention to it. Yeah, we've been to the Download Festival several years between us.
Mhm.
We've seen lots of headliners headline that famous main stage, but what have been the best ones? Let's talk about it.
Not Def Leppard.
Definitely not. We walked away from that immediately and did not listen to a single thing. There's been a lot of bad ones on that vein, but a lot of fantastic ones that I've enjoyed. If I'm going to just stay one, like off the bat, I know you guys will have, I think, one in particular, but I'm going to go slightly off. And it was the Slipknot one last year for me. We're going to surely talk about Bring Me the Horizon in a minute, because that was phenomenal. But that Slipknot one in particular, with a very different set list, hearing songs I've never seen before, like Snuff and things like that, Blister Exists. It was a very special thing for me to kind of to watch that and really kind of enjoy it. To be honest, a band that I absolutely love and adore, and to hear and see some of those songs, it's always special for me seeing not live. But that was my favourite time I've ever seen them out of like the 5 or 6 times I've managed to so far. So that for me is right at the top, but then it will be followed by Bring Me.
See, my experience of Slipknot last year is very probably heavily dampened by the heat and the fact that my eyes went to absolute shit.
Kind of
all day
wish it was
Sunday.
literally dampened in a way.
So my experience of, or like my memory of that is a little bit bleak. But
Your memory of that is, I want to go home now.
My memory of that is watching it through half a squinted eye because I couldn't see anything. But fair enough.
Pit vibes are immaculate.
Yeah, I see. I was stood with a bunch
It
of
was like
random
me,
people.
Me, Callum, Glennie, and Rue were just chaotic. A lot of fun. But yeah, that to me is my favourite download set in terms of headliners that I've ever seen.
Before we talk about my actual favourite one, I'm going to talk about Biffy Clyro. Everyone knows I love Biffy Clyro, and I've seen them headline downloads twice.
Lucky
in
boy.
2017 and 2022. The latter of those was definitely the better set, I think. I think they pulled a bigger crowd than they did in 2017 as well, which maybe shows that the people who download are being a bit more open, listening to, giving them like a bit more of a chance.
Generational change.
And yeah, very loud set, very, very exciting set as well. Love that a lot.
I sort of have two answers for this. One of them is the best download headliner that I've seen, and the other is my favourite.
What was the best download headliner you've
Best
seen?
download headliner I've ever seen is Bring Me the Horizon.
Yeah, let's get it out of the way. That's my favourite and my best I've seen.
I would say almost flawless set list.
Yeah.
Production that has blown every other headliner I've seen out the water.
Best
bar one.
production I've ever seen at a show, for me personally, ever.
Bar one. And it also just felt like a real, I can't think of the word, really like gratifying and like,
I guess
felt like rewarding as a fan.
they're a band that we've kind of not necessarily grown up with, but they're a band that have been around as we've we've grown up with them.
Yeah.
And we've seen them grow to the point where they've headlined the biggest stage, the biggest rock stage in the UK.
Yeah. And it just felt good to sort of doubt all the naysayers, prove all the naysayers wrong, I guess, by being so fucking good.
Can I guess your favourite
You
one?
can guess my
I
favourite
know what
one.
it is as well.
It's Kiss.
It's
It is Kiss, of course it is. That is probably my favourite production. Whether or not it was better than Bring Me, I don't know. But I was right up at the front. I had so much fun. It felt like one of those real, I'm never going to get this opportunity again things, and I just cherished that experience a lot. So
See, one of my favourite things in the vlogs from that year is seeing our different perspectives, because there's the rest of us walking away. There's a clip from us stood at the back where we're watching them, and like I deliberately left it in because just to prove the point of how shit they sounded and how you couldn't really see anything. So then there's a clip of us walking back and going, "Oh, Kiss were a bit boring to us." So we've left Alex to it, walking back, and then it cuts to your viewpoint where there's just fire.
Everything's
going
zip
all to
lines.
absolute hell.
Yeah, what's his name's just zip lined over to the platform in the middle.
Yeah.
Like there's fire everywhere. There's like bubbles and balloons and there's
Gene
shit,
Simmons is spitting
shit
blood.
flying around the stage, and then it cuts back to us in co-op. So I think if we were further down the front, it probably would have been a bit more enjoyable for us. But I just found it funny that we were like, "Oh, it's a bit boring," so we've left, and it's just whoa.
Also, I still remember that the grin that you had on your face when you got back to camp afterwards. We
It was
were all
brilliant.
sat round.
I loved it.
And you came back and you were absolutely fucking beaming.
I spent a lot of time in my previous job that was very boring thinking about like, oh, what's my top 5 favourite meals? What's my top 5 favourite? Do you know what I mean? Just boring shit like that just to keep my brain occupied.
Are you the guy that writes BuzzFeed quizzes?
Maybe. And I think often about like my favourite live sets. And that one is always one that is like right near the top for me. Up there with Taylor Swift now.
Fucking hell.
So yeah,
I
those
think-
are my answers.
I think Limp Bizkit were a great headliner this year.
Do you know what though? This was the first year actually where I've watched a headliner from top of hill all the way through.
From Top of Hill.
Top of hill. From the top of the hill all the way through and had, I think, as much fun as I would have done down the front with Avenged Sevenfold. I actually, like, as I'm reflecting on it more, I'm remembering like how much fun I had and how like, again, like a bucket list thing to hear some of those songs
It was
live.
nostalgic as hell.
It was really good. And I
you,
think
me and Glennie were together just
was-
belting out songs.
I think I could we have walked down a bit further and got closer? Sure. But I had just as much fun, I think.
Yeah, I was happy.
So that was a weird one because I think every time I've ever watched a headliner from like top of the hill, that's usually like my own internal sign of like, I'm actually not that bothered about this. I'm going to probably leave soon.
Although we did have a moment where like, okay, if it's not like a song for us,
Yeah,
were
we
gonna
did
walk
say
back.
that. If it's not
And
a
then
banger-
Nightmare came
Yeah.
on.
I
It was just
I like that game. Like
Yeah.
I remember doing that with Aerosmith in 2017. I was like, if the next time they play a song that we don't know, we'll leave. And then they like played like "Dude Looks Like a Lady," and
Yeah.
then like "Don't Want to Miss a Thing,"
it's like, okay, I'm going to stay
Yeah,
on.
and then-
fair enough.
and then that Run DMC one. It's a bit like, "I walk this way." That's it. And it's a bit like, okay, no, that maybe they're actually all right.
Yeah.
No, we had that look at each other. Then it was the trio in particular of Nightmare, Unholy Confessions, and A Little Piece of Heaven,
Crazy.
and we were just in our element at that point. So I do agree. Wrap up and
Is your favourite and your best? What are they?
favorite, my best is that Slipknot set
Both-
last
both
year.
of them.
And it was just like I think a personal one, just to hear some of those songs live that, like I said, I never would have had the chance to see.
Worst one we've seen real quick for fun?
Tool. Boring as shit.
I don't know. I think Def Leppard give them a run for their money.
Def Leppard were bad.
They were bad as well.
Considering
I
that was
think
the
Tool-
first headliner we'd ever seen was Def Leppard.
Tool might have been
That's
good.
bad.
That was
Isn't it?
really bad.
Tool might have been good, like if we stuck it out and like
I wouldn't have.
stayed for more than like one 9-minute song.
Tour might have been good if they hadn't fucking turned off the screens,
Yeah.
basically.
But Def Leppard weren't good.
Anyway.
Who else was in 2017? There's Biffy Clyro, System of a Down, probably Iron Maiden.
Probably.
Well, they can't have been good if I can't remember them. So, oh, it was Aerosmith. I've literally just talked about them. Duh, they were good.
Fair enough.
Sorted.
Yeah, I think that's
Sorted.
If you let us know in the comments down below what your favourite download headliner has been, whether it's a best one you think or whether it's just a personal favourite, let us know. While you're down there, like, subscribe, all that usual shit. But before we go, we need to recommend some albums. Are either of you ready and prepared?
Yeah, I'm
or
ready.
do you
I've
want
got
me
one
to...
prepared. I'm not normally prepared, but I am this time.
All right, Alex, shoot.
As we mentioned earlier, I'm seeing Block Party do Silent Alarm in full next week. I cannot think about anything else. So I'm recommending that because it's one of the best indie
Hell
albums
yeah.
of all time.
Oh,
I would actually say, for the record though, I personally prefer A Weekend in the City. But Silent Alarm's the one, isn't it?
on a similar vein, I'm saying Tala next week. and I can't think about anything else. And I actually want to revisit, because I've been doing this recently, and I'd actually be interested to know your perspectives on it. Generation of Danger. I think at that
That's a very
point we
dense
loved
album, isn't it?
Matriphagy so much. I think we didn't give Generation of Danger enough of a chance.
Yeah, I do need to give
And
it
now
more
I've
of a
been
chance,
spending
for
more
sure.
time on it. My perspective has very much changed. So revisit that, and then we can just get excited for Tala anyway, Dan. But what are you recommending?
You know what I'm recommending.
Of course we do.
It's the final part of the Aaron West trilogy, In Lieu of Flowers. In my opinion, the best of the three.
Wow. Big praise.
I'm sure Alex will love it. Rounds out the story nicely.
What's your order
And-
then? How do you rank them?
I think the third one's the best one and my favourite.
Mm.
I think Routine Maintenance is probably the better album, but I personally prefer We Don't Have Each Other. It's got that charm about it.
You've charmed me.
Is that from something?
It's David Brent, yep.
That's it.
course.
There you are.
Of course it is. Well, there you go. We get another happy landing. Another happy episode.
Delighted.
Well done, everyone.
Well done.
Did a great job.
Well done, listener, sticking it out for this long.
If you made it this far, comment the word
Got to pick something funny
charm.
but not rude. Oh yeah, charm.
Comment charm.
Comment
down below.
charm. There you go.
Happy days.
Happy days. See you next time. Oh God, it gets so awkward trying to end it.